Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we have a top 10 for you. Yay! Today we are doing our top 10 favorite set collection games. Now, before we get started, we do have a caveat for you. You see, there was another mechanism that kind of like blended together with set collection, and it was order fulfillment or contracts. We decided it would be best if we kind of really focused on just set collection, and then in the future did another top 10 of order fulfillment / contracts, which means more top 10s in the future. And everybody rejoiced. Yay.
Yeah. Everyone loves a good top 10.
Yeah. They're great.
All right, so other thing I want to point out is there was 15,000 entries on BGG of set collection games. Obviously, some of them fall into that contracts category. Other ones are promos and, expansions, whatever else. But still, 15,000 entries. That's a ton of set collection games. So obviously, we're just going to do our top 10, but that means there's a lot more out there. We need to know your top 10 as well. Put in the comments below some of your favorites so we can check those out next time.
All right, and as always, ladies first. And so my number 10 is Calico. This is an adorable game where you're building a quilt to try and attract cats to your quilt. The set collection aspect of this game is the quilt patterns and colors. Not only you're trying to get certain ones, but you're also trying to get them in certain shapes while you're drafting these things. And it's so fun. And I just now thought of this, but this is one of those games that's like really relaxing and mean. It's a relaxing, mean game. We could do a top 10 on relaxing but mean games.
I already have thinking of a couple that I can use.
And this would definitely be one of them. So my number 10 is Calico.
All right, my number 10 is a game called Zoom in Barcelona. This is a game we played back before it was even distributed in the States. What a great game. Yeah. It's all about running around the city of Barcelona and taking pictures. And on top of that, the sunset is setting and certain pictures want to be taken at a certain time of day or night. Yeah. It's got some really cool mechanisms in it. But one of my favorites is this idea of there's the skyline of the city, and you have to kind of visit all of these different areas of the skyline. And the more you visit, the more points you're going to get. However, at the beginning of the game, every player is going to get dealt this tile. It kind of has the different skyline buildings, the tallest buildings in Barcelona, all in kind of a different order. And so you are trying to get them bunched together. So if you have, let's say, one by itself is worth 1 point. If you have two next to each other, that's worth 3 points. If you have three, it's worth 6 points, or whatever the distribution of points is. The point is, the more of those that you can get together, bunched together, the more of those skyline buildings you visit, the more points it's going to be worth, which I thought was a pretty cool mechanism and an already great game.
My number 9 is Nime. I said Nime.
It's Nime time.
My number 9 is Sheriff of Nottingham. And so this is fun because you are trying to get your goods in, pass through the sheriff to get your goods into the market, and you get points based on the goods, the individual points, and then also if you get the most of them through the market, then you get bonus points for that. But what's fun about this is you can also put in contraband, so it's kind of like this bluffing game. So you're trying to bluff to get what you want in, which is some good stuff and some bad stuff, but you're also just trying to get the most of things. So this is like a bluffing set collection game. Unfortunately, the people in my game group are not huge fans of this game anymore, so I don't get to play it nearly as much as I would like, and I will never play it with Doug.
Or me.
I can play with you. Doug doesn't lie.
Yeah.
It's not fun. You gotta lie, Doug.
All right, my number 9. This is kind of a classic game at this point, Seven Wonders. This is a card drafting game where you have a hand of cards. You're going to take one of them, play it, and pass the rest. Take one, pass the rest. Take one, pass the rest. All that kind of thing. And each color of card means something different. Like, for instance, the blue cards are usually victory points. You're trying to get, the more cards you have, whatever the victory point value is, you're going to get those. Yellow cards are cards that help you get discounts or money, things like that. Red cards are all about combat. Where the set collection comes in, it also these green cards. Is the science symbols. There's 3 science symbols in the game. Now, the more you get of them, and then individually, the more points they're worth. So if you get 1, it's worth 1 point. 2 is 2, or 2 is 4. 3 is 9. So it keeps on squaring based off of how many you have. But there's also kind of this collection of sets. If you have 1 of each, you get a bonus 7 points. So if you can go with a really strong science strategy in Seven Wonders, you can get a lot of points per the 3 different symbols, plus even more points for having sets of each as well. So you're getting just a lot of points But again, it's tricky because this is of the drafting nature of this game. Once people see that you're starting to go with a science strategy, your neighbors get to kind of try to take the cards out of the hands so that you don't get them. But then now they're playing the science game, which they weren't necessarily planning on doing. So you're kind of forcing them.
And then when you turn around the other order, they're going to take stuff that you can't. Yeah.
So it's a really great game, and I love the set collection within those science cards.
All right, my number 8 is Gift of Tulips, and this is a really simple card drafting game where when you get a card, you either get to choose one of two things. You can either manipulate the scoring track, or you can add it to yourself. Now the thing is, you need to get the majority, you need to get a lot of points, but if you focus so much on placing cards in your tableau, you're not going to be able to manipulate the scoring track, so it's not going to score what you want. So it's this really interesting choice of either manipulating that or adding to your board, and you have to do both well in order to win. So it's a really simple game like that, but it has that fun little tug of war in there.
All right, so my number 8 game. It is hard to say numbers, and numbers are hard. This is a game called No Thanks. This is kind of a controversial pick. It does on
Ryan putting a controversial pick on a top 10 list.
I love bending the rules of the definitions.
The rules that we make up, and then Ryan bends them. This is what we're gonna do. Except me, I'm gonna do this.
Listen, it says set collection on the on BGG for this game, so it counts. The way this game works is basically you're trying not to take cards. Cards are negative points. You don't want them. So you have these hands of tokens, and what you're doing is a card's up for grabs, and then as soon as someone is putting in a chip in order to not take that card. So you place it, you say, no thanks, I don't want that. That's the name of the game. But as soon as you either A, run out of chips, or B, decide that you don't want to play anymore, or you can't play anymore, you have to take that card. That card is now negative points for you. However, later on in the game, you're going to get more and more cards, probably. What you can try to do is you can try to get cards that are next to each other. You're trying to collect these sets of cards. So if you get a 5, it's worth negative 5 points. If you get a 7, it's worth negative 7 points. It's a total of negative 12 points. But if you can get a set of 5, 6, and 7 together, now all you're getting is the negative 5 points. Basically, if you get a set or a run of cards all together, whatever the lowest card is, or maybe it's the highest, I don't remember, but whatever it is, whatever that lowest number is, I think, you're only going to score that one card as a negative. So you're trying to collect these sets of in numeric order cards in order to minimize your damage. And also the tokens themselves, you try to collect those. Those are points, also positive points, trying to get you back out of the hole. So it's a lot of fun.
My number 7 is Dig, and this is it's a part of the Paco Games game, so it's literally the size of a pack of gum. What you do is you line them all up, and there's all these different bones, and they're different colored bones. And at the end of it are all the different colored bowls. So what you're doing is you're drafting these bones and moving the bowls down. But the scoring the scoring is determined by where the bowls actually end up. The closest they are to the doghouse, the more they score, and the further away. So the bowls match the colors of the bones you have. So you want to collect and draft what you want, but you also kind of want to try and move that bowl further down. So you can't just take all this stuff, because if you move the bowl too far down, nobody's going to get you're not going to get as many as you want of the highest scoring thing, but you also don't want to take your time on that, because then it's not going to be scoring you a lot of stuff anyway. So it's a really quick game, really fast game. This is one we've definitely played with our daughters a lot.
All right, so my number 7 is a Stefan Feld game. I always like Stefan Feld games. And Stefan, we're on a first name basis.
Oh my god.
Me and Stefan, it's a thing. No, we love his games, and a lot of them include set collection in some way, shape, or form. The game I want to talk about is Trajan's. Probably is one of the best examples of it. So there's two things I want to talk about. There's this worker area of the board where you're able to place some of your meeples in order to take tiles off of the board, and you collect those tiles. If you collect 1, it's worth nothing. If you collect 2, it's worth nothing. The third one you collect, now that set is worth 10 points. And if you're able to collect a 4th one, which is all of them in the game, you get 20 points. It's a huge number in that game. So you were trying to collect these sets of those tiles. Another area where the set collection comes into play is through shipping. So you're going to be kind of collecting cards throughout the game that have all these different commodities that you're trying to sell by shipping them on these boats. And you can get sets of them by having equal cards. So like if you had fish, for instance, you could do fish, 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 and the more fish you sell, the more points it's worth. However, there's also one that says non-equal cards. That's not worth as many points because it's easier to do, but by selling non-equal goods, you're going to get points. Or by selling pairs of cards, so trying to find pairs of, let's say, fish, vases, and whatever else.
Yeah.
You're going to get points that way. And the more you sell, the more points it's worth. So this is a great example of how Stefan Feld uses set collection in his games expertly.
I like the Senate route in that game.
The Senate is... I have not mastered how to figure that out.
Oh, I did it once, and it was like so wonderful. I still got second place.
That's as you always do in that game.
It's so weird, guys. I always get second place in this game regardless of player count.
Well, it's 2, 3, or 4 players. Bethany gets second place always.
All the time. That's really weird.
Which is like a great track record, really.
Yeah.
But this is weird because you don't win a lot.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what happens. My number 6 is also a failed game, and that is
Copycat.
Okay, so, but if you reverse the order, like mine's 6 and yours is 7, so you copied me. We're just revealing in reverse order.
That's all they need to know.
You copied me. My number 6 is Kokopelli. And so what this is you have these ceremonies that you're trying to open, and all of the different ceremonies all of the different cards have different abilities. And so you can like manipulate things that's going on, and you can plan other people's ceremonies. But what's interesting about this is you have all of the sets you need complete in your deck with those Kokopelli cards. But as soon as you complete one, you can't use that special ability anymore. You close the ceremony. So you're trying to like work with that, right? You want to try and play all of your cards that you can. You also want to do these ceremonies so you can use the abilities. But as soon as you close the ceremony, or as soon as your opponent closes your ceremony, then all of a sudden, like, you can't use that ability anymore. So it's this really nice just a balancing act of trying to manipulate that as much as you can, but also you do need to close them because that's how you get your points as well. So it's like a both and game, and it was really interesting to see that.
All right, so my number 6 is a game called Concordia. In this game, it's kind of got, I don't know if it's route connection, maybe a little bit of area control in a way.
Hold on. I want to know if when you hear the word Concordia, do you automatically think of the Hunger Games? If you do, just let me know in the comments below. Carry on.
Okay. So you have this area control kind of thing going on, this route connection as you're kind of building your network of trying to collect all these different resources so that you can sell them. But you're also gathering all these cards. You start with a hand of cards, and you're going to get more and more cards that are special abilities. And so on your turn, you're trying to gather resources, but you're also trying to get cards. And the cards you get, the color of them might be different than what the actions that you want to actually perform are. So it's kind of this weight and measure of thing. Do you want to grab a card that's going to give you the ability that you need right then and there? Or do you want to grab a card that's going to help your set collection at the end of the game? So you have to kind of weigh and measure how you want to play this game. Ultimately, you want to do it all, but you can't necessarily. This is a game I'm not. Yeah, I'm not super great at this game because I have such a hard time balancing that. I usually go really hard one strategy or the other. But man, what a great game! I love Concordia. There's lots of different maps, and they all kind of work the same way as far as the set collection go with the cards and the scoring. But each map has different resources and how they're spread out, and the way you kind of connect it all.
My number 5 is higher on somebody else's list, so we'll get there later, as long as I can find my way.
All right, so speaking of finding your way, my number 5, walking in Verano. In this game, basically, apparently in the boardwalk in Verano, there's these very brightly colored buildings. And so what you're doing is you're building this boardwalk of all these different buildings. You want the top, middle, and bottom of your buildings to all be the same color if you can, but it's tricky because we can't always get what you need or be able to play them in the right order. And you have to kind of build from the bottom up, which of course makes sense. Yeah. But also buildings can't...
like, middle of a building, just floating out there.
And there are cards that help with that. There's like these scaffolding cards that you can use to kind of fill holes. But you cannot have an all blue building next to another blue building. You need to kind of have the buildings be different colored all next to each other, just the way they are in Verano, apparently. So that set collection aspect of it, as you're trying to build these buildings all in the same monochromatic color. But then you also have other cards and point opportunities that say things like the more flowers you have in the background of these pictures, or the more people you have in the background of these pictures, the more points you're going to get. So you have, this game is just all about kind of set collection, just all sprinkled throughout it.
All right, my number 4 is 12 Days. So there's a 4, 12. I was like, my brain was wanting, just going to reverse those.
Yeah,
it was,
number
I
4.
paused for
My
a
number
second.
12 pick is 4 days.
So it is 12 days, and this is a trick-taking game about, 12 days of Christmas. And so what you're doing is you are playing tricks. You're trying to win the tricks, and every trick gets a point for each day of Christmas, but the points get higher and higher and higher. So the first trick is only 1 point. The next trick is 2 points. But another aspect of this game is you have all these cards, and what you're doing is you are drafting one card each round. And so you're taking a card and you're passing it, and somebody's also giving you a card. What you're trying to do is, at the end of the round, at the end of the game, have the majority of something. And so when you're drafting, you will not have played all your cards. You're going to have cards in your hand. And whoever has the majority of a number, it's numbered 1 through 12. There's 1 of 1. There's 12 of 12s. All the numbers get their numbers. Whoever has the majority of a certain number is going to score that. So if I have the most 6s, I'm going to score 6 points. So while you're also trying to take these tricks and you're trying to draft cards that you don't necessarily want, you're also trying to keep cards behind of what you do want so you can score that at the end. So I liked seeing that set collection and drafting and trick taking all mixed together in this game.
All right, my number 4, this is Great Western Trail. You might not think of it as a set collection game, but that's because it's so subtle, which is what I like about it. In this game, what you were doing is you were kind of following this path, trying to gather and collect as many cattle as you can to ultimately sell them to Kansas City. You're building buildings along the way. Each one of the buildings you land on is going to give you special abilities and actions that you can do. Where the set collection comes into play is these cattle cards. It's almost got a deck building element to it as you're kind of adding cattle into your deck and you're drawing cards. And then you are constantly revolving that. You can kind of get rid of some cards. You can try to add new ones in. At the end of the path is Kansas City, and you are trying to have a diverse hand of cards. So you only are going to be able to score each card that's unique. So if you have 2 blue cards, you're only going to be able to score 1 of them. And so you want to try to have a unique hand of cards by the time you get to Kansas City. But throughout the game, as you're kind of traveling through the path part of it, there's going to be buildings that you can land on that require you to have sets or pairs. So maybe you have 2 of the white cattle, you're going to be able to trade those in for money. Or if you have 2 of the green cattle, you're going to be able to sell those for some kind of special ability or whatever the case is. So you need to kind of weigh and measure these unique cards as well as having stronger cards, which is worth more points, but also having sets and pairs of cards as well. So it's very, very subtle, kind of interwoven throughout it. I really like the way that it is so subtle, and it is a unique way to take that.
My number 3 is Red Rising, and this is really interesting because the set collection of it kind of changes every game. So all of the cards have unique text on them, and what you're doing is you are playing a card to a different spot on the board, and you're taking an action or ability on that spot. And the cards also sometimes have actions if you place them, or abilities if you place them in certain spots. But all the cards want different things from you. So some cards might really want you to have certain characters with them. Some other cards might really want you to not have certain characters with them. Some cards might want you to have a certain number, like an odd or an even base, because all the cards have a certain number attributed to them. Some of the cards might want just certain colors of them. So as the game's going on, and as you're drawing and playing these cards, what you're trying to do, the sets that you're trying to create and the cards that you're trying to pair next together is going to be changing and morphing throughout the entire game. So it's kind of a different experience every single time you play it.
By the way, the books are excellent, and now after having read them, the game makes sense as far as what characters like being next to other characters, what characters don't like being next to other characters, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think the 4th one's coming out around Christmas, or 5th one. Is it the 5th one?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 3 is higher on someone else's list, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what that is about.
Oh, right. So my number two is Fly. And you'll realize throughout my entire list, what I really like is one element paired with another element. So I really like set collection paired with something else blended together to make this really fun thing. And so this is set collection paired with dexterity. What you have in Fly is you have all these tiles. This is another Paco game, so it comes in a box like this big. So you have all these tiles about this big, and you lay them out and you make a picnic tablecloth. And on it, there's all these different flies that have different shapes and colors attributed to them. So Fly will have like a green triangle on it, another one will have a green circle, another one will have a red square, and so on and so forth. And what you're doing is you're taking the fly swatter and you're dropping it from a predetermined height to try and cover the flies. And you have to completely cover it. There can't even be like a little bit of a leg coming out. You have to completely cover the fly. And then if you do, you can draft that. So what ends up happening at the end of the game, depending on the tiles that you draft, you're going to score based on the sets of the colors and the sets of the shapes of those. So it's really fun to blend that that set collection along with the dexterity aspect of that.
All right, so my number 2 is a game called Maglev Metro. This is a game where it's kind of like a train style game, right? Where you have these trains that you're building, and they are going around. You're building the routes as well. You're not building the trains, you're building the routes. They're going to pick up all these different passengers. There's 4 different colors of passengers. There's also 3 different colors of robots. You're trying to get the passengers to their specific color of tile, and the robots, same thing as well. So you're trying to get the purple passengers to the purple spots on the board, trying to get the gold robots to the gold spot on the board, that kind of a thing. Now, once you've collected them, you have this board. It's all this really nice recessed board. The way the robots work is you're trying to place them on your board in a way that makes your game stronger. It kind of builds an engine in a sense. How far can you go? How many passengers can you carry at a time? All that kind of stuff. You're going to be able to modify your own abilities using the robots. But the way the passengers work is you're going to place those on your board in a way that's kind of a set collection thing. You're going to fill out these rows and these columns. And the more, if you're able to fill the entire row out, it's going to say you're going to get more points based off how many of your passengers you have. Fill the whole column up with all these different colored passengers, you're going to be able to unlock more and more of these cards that are end game points as well. So you really want to get a full set. If you don't complete the entire row or the entire column, you don't get that benefit. So you really want to make sure you complete that set of meeples. Most set collections are cards a lot of times, but this one was the fact that it was meeples or resources, I guess, in this sense. Was I think really fun and really unique in the way that you kind of collect them by moving them around on the board in order to get them. I like that a lot.
All right, my number 1 was Ryan's number 5, and that is a Knittable Ear. And this was super fun. So you have all these dwarfs that you are drafting from the different taverns that you're going to. And there's 5 different colors that you're getting, and some of them, when you get all of one color, they're just points depending on how many you get. Some of them are points depending on things that are on the cards. But what's really neat is once you get one of each, so once you get a set of 5 of the different colors, you get a draft from like all of these other special dwarfs, and some of them give you special abilities, some of them break the rules, some of them make your sets better. But that is like where the game is. So try to draft these solely so you can get all of like the special dwarfs and the stuff that they do, and it is like so much fun.
I agree. This is my number 3 for the same exact reason. Each individual
I said
column,
5. I'm sorry. Ryan corrected me right there. He was trying to be nice and sly about it, but it was 3.
Each individual column of dwarves is you want to make it stronger and stronger as well. Like especially the greens and purples have their own set collection, whereas the more you have of them, the multiplier effect kicks in, which is just a blast. This game has bidding in a really unique way, and I love the game. What a great game.
Yeah, and there's so many different, like, we're not going to do a review here now, but there's just so many different paths.
Yes.
So many different paths to victory.
Stay tuned to our channel if you like hearing about Knittable Ear, because we'll be talking about it soon.
We'll talk about it a lot.
All right, so I wanted to give one honorable mention. By the way, we didn't rehearse this. Point Salad. This is a game that we talked about when we were making this list. Like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to be on my list. Oh, it's definitely going to be on your list. Yeah. And then we forgot to put it on either one of our lists.
Yes.
Point Salad is a fantastic game where you are basically trying to draft vegetables as well as scoring opportunities. So the scoring opportunities might be getting a set of vegetables like a tomato, a lettuce, and an onion. Yeah. And for every set of those, you get 8 points, or whatever the case is. Or maybe whoever has the most of a certain thing gets 10 points, or whoever has the least amount gets a certain thing. So this game it's all about drafting. It's so fast, and it's just all about set collection. What a great example of it that we forgot to include, so I wanted to quick.
How did we miss that?
I don't know. We both talked about it being...
Now nobody can talk to us in the comments because we mentioned it here. It's good. It's fine. It's okay.
It's more like a top 11 at this point.
Yeah.
I wanted to quick sneak that in there towards the end. All right, so my actual number 1 is Lost Cities. This is just a pure set collection game.
And this was my number 5.
Yes, exactly. This is a game that we played. It's a 2-player game only, and it's something we played a lot early on, and we still play quite a bit because it's just so good and so simple, and we can just break it out at any time. Yeah. All right, so there's 5, all about the expeditions that you're going on. There's 5 different colors of cards that each represent an expedition that you're going on. All right, so you need to kind of play cards in sequential order or in numeric order. They don't necessarily have to be in, exact order 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they do have to be like if you start with a 2 and go to a 4.
You can't do a 3.
You could never go backwards and play a 3. So you have to always be ascending in order. But you have a small-handed card, so it's really kind of tricky because, oh man, I know that if I play a 4 right now, I'll never be able to go back and get that 3, but I don't have a 3 yet, so what do? Do I play a different column? Do I discard a card? I have to discard a card, but then she might be able to draw that card because you can also draw from the discard pile in this game. Tons of great little small choices in this game. The other tricky part about this game is each individual color is an expedition, and expeditions cost money to go on. So in order if you start a color, you're actually in the hole right away. You're negative 20 points just
immediately,
just by starting, because it costs you money to go on it. If you don't start a color, if you don't start the red expedition, you're at 0 points in that column, and it's fine. But if you start a column, you're at negative 20. You have to make sure that you build up at least enough to get out of the hole in order to do well in this game. Sometimes it can be very, very tricky. So you're just collecting these sets of cards in ascending order, trying to play them out there in order to get the most amount of points. It is basically pure set collection, and it's got a little bit of a push your luck element to it, and it's just so great.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. What we really want to know is what games on our list were like, yes, that would definitely be on mine too. But what games did we also miss? Remember what Ryan said at the beginning about how there were 15,000 entries when it came to this on Board Game Geek? We've obviously missed some, and we want to know which ones we missed in the comments below. So definitely talk to us there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.